Okay, I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit since we're getting into the last part here on weather for aviation. There is a ton of issues going on across the United States right now, so I just wanted to see if we could talk about a few of them. Uh, so, first off, there's a pretty doggone strong cold front uh, out across to Indiana and down into Texas. Notice the lightning that is flaring up on this cold front across parts of western Kentucky, uh, on up into even into southern parts of Michigan. Thinking about that, that is very rare this time of year. The area out ahead of that, I wanted to notice all the bubbles that are beginning to look kind of like the clouds out across Alabama and Mississippi there coming up. That's showing that we're getting cumulus development out there. So you're beginning to pull moisture up. You have some instability. That whole area is outlooked as a slight risk of severe. We already can see thunderstorms developing. This image, all it is an image of satellite, current visible satellite, and lightning. You'll notice the lightning's actually been intensifying as we're talking here. There's more of it. There's also actually a little tiny thunderstorm over parts of West Virginia right now, and that is along a warm front that's developing in there. There's some lower clouds along the South Carolina coast coming in off the ocean there. So they're pulling in some lower clouds there. Maybe you have to deal with some visibility issues or clouds, lower ceilings down in that area, which might have some IFR, MVFR concerns later today. So as you can see, just in the eastern half of the country, we have a lot going on right now, and potential it's going to get worse, believe it or not, before it gets better. So with that in mind, let's go take a look. What's going on currently? So currently, right now, we have a cold front right exactly where we talked about. There's lightning going on. It shows a warm front up to the north right now, right through here. And there's another one down in here. Dew points down in here are in the 60s, so and even the 70s over parts of the Gulf. So pretty warm, humid air down in there right now. Notice how this front just kind of hangs up along the coast here, and that southeast flow is coming in off the Gulf Stream here. That's what's bringing in some of those clouds you see there. And this sector around here with dew points in the mid to upper 60s is going to have the most instability. Yes, there is a warm front coming through in this area here as well, but it's not to the same extent. Warm fronts can be different magnitudes. We've talked about that along the way here. And you can see here, this one, dew points in the 50s and 40s, where versus the 60s down here. There's quite a temperature change too, 67 here, and also all of that going on and feeding into this area. So if I was worried about intense thunderstorms developing, I would be looking in this sector right in here. So if I'm flying, that is the area I would be concerned with. It also matches up with Storm Prediction Center's sector. Notice this other low. There's one here, but there's a main low right now up over northern Michigan, northern Wisconsin area, Lake Superior. There's going to be an evolution with this map. Lows aren't static, and they kind of form in waves sometimes. So we're going to talk about a new low actually going to be developing along this triple point, where you have a cold front and a warm front out here. As they move to the east, there's going to be new thunderstorms and new low developing. And actually, if you Storm Prediction Weather Center here, from national perspective, notice they moved the low to the north here. And they still keep that little low down here. But I want you to notice tomorrow, that low is intensifying. We've actually created a stationary front to the north of it, and that other low is beginning to become the dominant low here. Yes, there's a strong cold front moving east. You even have some snow back in this area. And finally, day 3, one big low up in here. So all of these lows have consolidated into one at that point, pulling everything through. So what you're seeing here is the evolution of a second extratropical low pressure system developing. Well, maybe we just want to take a quick peek at what might be going on with some of that. One other thing is the Aviation Weather Center here. And some of these are kind of interesting. You can see different views here of where some turbulence might be forecast and all of that. So something to think about. If we want to take advantage of, the Aviation Weather Center does have some. I just wanted to focus just a minute on guidance products. This is the global forecast system, so we're looking at bigger scales. So currently, 500 winds, all right? Well, not. Let's pick it up to 300. See if we can look at the jet stream a little bit here. I think you're going to be surprised at how much this jet looks like, because it is a very explosive looking jet stream to me right now with this image. And you'll see what I want you to focus on is two areas. Notice there is a large area, very extreme winds heading down on the west side of the trough. It's out over western Texas now. There's another trough here. That other trough is what's controlling the current low pressure system. However, there is really, really strong winds in here coming around the backside of this. What does this mean? This means it's going to be deepening this, because there's more momentum back here than they're out ahead of it, and it's going to be slamming further east with that deepening. So if we were to go back and say, okay, what's going to happen in 24 hours? This forecast is for 0Z valid. So if I want to look 24 hours out, which is 12Z tomorrow, how is that going to change? And we know that a jet streak has good divergence on the left front quad and the right rear quad. Well, notice that wind max that was back here is now consolidated and is an extremely strong wind max to the east. Back in this area, right in here, you're going to have divergence developing. You also have some up in here. This other low that's down here is going to be taking off from this divergence. So the secondary low is developing down in here with that. The GFS is a great model for looking at broad scales. It shows this. If you were flying, you would have clear air turbulence in this area probably, and significantly issues probably with some cat all through here. And you have one heck of a fast trip if you're heading up from Louisiana up into Buffalo, New York. Wanted to show you a little smaller scale model, though. This is a forecast just of where the actual precip will be at the tomorrow morning. Notice all this big area of precipitation developing here, some oranges and all. Cold front's probably in here. Notice how the transition from kind of blotchy to more all the same. Well, where that transition occurs is probably right along the cold front. So you can actually look at this kind of a chart and say, hey, I can pick out a cold front in there. You'll probably find the heaviest precip right immediately along or just ahead of that front. Now, if I were to move forward in time a little bit with this is 24 hours. So let's just go back and we'll try to pick out a 30 hour. With that, we'll get 36 hours here with that as well. All right. So We're starting to bring some of the colder air in. Notice how across West Virginia, there's snow in the mountains, lower elevation. So this is very elevation dependent snow. Yeah, the air is much colder than we had. What I want you to notice too is there's 1 second area of thunderstorms that have developed to the east and another area back towards the cold front, which is now back in here. So you have two separate segments of showers and thunderstorms developing. But you're also beginning to get a whole lot more precipitation behind that front, which would be an impact comet head developing with a new low pressure system moving to the north. So all of these things are factors that would play into how you're going to fly tomorrow. Oh yeah, guess what? There is some really, really strong jet at the low levels here. So you're going to have wind shear. Wind shear is going to be in this area coming up on the east side of the cold front. Why is it on the east side? Well, think about it. You get the warm sector. The warm sector at the low levels is probably not as intense, maybe not as warm to allow the mixing. So you wind up with very strong winds aloft that haven't mixed down to the surface yet. Now, when you get to the cold side, you have that very cold air coming in. You have a very steep low-level lapse rate, so your winds are shifting and becoming out of the northwest. There, you're mixing down the winds. Also, if you just look and think about this for tomorrow, you're going to have mountain waves that are going to be coming off the slopes, especially towards the afternoon and evening, as this cold front continues to move towards the east. So if you're flying, say, from Martinsburg to Morgantown, you're going to be running into some pretty good mountain waves with time as you're moving across here. So, as you can see, this is a very involved system. You have IFR conditions, you've got thunderstorms, you have wind shear, you have probably turbulence along the upper level jet. So all these things would play into your flight plan for tomorrow and later on during the day. So you could be even looking at, well, can I beat this shower and fly into Norfolk between the thunderstorms, or am I going to have to deal with thunderstorms flying in there? All things to look at. High resolution models give you more detail. They're much better in the first 24 to 48 hours. Broad resolution models like the GFS give you more of an overall picture, but they can show you where low pressures may be developing and all that. So hope you got a little bit out of this course. And I tried to bring a lot into this discussion that you will see in your test coming up. So let me know what you think.